Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Malabite Afenifere. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Rufai.
Mr. Afenifere, what happened to Real Madrid yesterday?
Well, downtime.
Okay.
They will bounce back.
Okay.
You know that's my team.
Okay.
Don't rub it in. Tundu, good morning.
Mr.
Yours has to be special, you know.
Aaron said important, you said special.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's start with these days newspapers. Ruben, you were trying to tell us that our parliamentarians or legislators don't behave well because they don't follow their conviction. Yesterday they did. APC legislators all rose in unison to say the president has to wake up if he's in deep slumber. And let's just start the day's review with these day newspapers, Nigeria's newspaper of records. Now, the lead story, Northern elders, Afenifere back houses, summon of Buhari over insecurity. Yes, let me remind you, that house is dominated by APC. They did not follow party affiliation, but national interest. So give it to them, at least, even if it took the death of 60 plus Nigerians to see this kind of attitude.
I will have my right of reply.
Yes. I know, I'm waiting for that. Now, Senate demands sacking of service chiefs. NEF, that's the Northern Elders Forum, tells president to resign. Northeast governors support use of mercenaries against Boko Haram. We will review ways of dealing with security challenges, says Oshibajo. Now, other newspapers are reporting the same story from the National Assembly. The Daily Trust newspaper, take our resolutions serious, Lawan tells Buhari as pressure mounts on president to sack service chiefs. Reps summon Buhari over insecurity. Resign now. Southern elders tell the commander-in-chief. Now, the Daily Independent newspaper, Ohaneze Afenifere, NCF, asks Buhari to honor reps' summons. Senate capers Buhari's government over insecurity, laments government failure to guarantee safety of lives. Says 67, not 43 farmers were killed on Saturday. Calls again for sack of overstayed security chiefs. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper, Borno massacre. Angry senators again, one service chief sacked. Reps invite Buhari, while the Daily Sun newspaper reporting the same story, insecurity in Northeast. Senate okays mercenaries used to fight Boko Haram. Reps summons Buhari, demand sack of service chiefs. Massacre will continue until they go. Northern elders. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, Senate to Buhari, sack service chiefs, while the Punch newspaper, Borno massacre, Boko Haram mount checkpoints, collects levies, says Senate. Reps invite Buhari, while the Vanguard newspaper, Borno massacre, Senate, Shekau, differ on casualties. 67 were killed, says the Senate. We killed 78. Shekau, the leader of the Boko Haram, one of the Boko Haram factions. Sacked service chiefs now, Senate. Of course, the Guardian newspaper, Northern elders asked Buhari to resign over insecurity, the Guardian newspaper. While, of course, the News Direct has a different story. Finance Bill 2020, Buhari seeks Senate approval for tax relief, job creation in 2021. Now, if we look at the foreign newspapers quickly, the Guardian of UK, the Guardian newspaper of UK, Prime Minister suffers his biggest Commons rebellion as 55 Tories reject chairs. Yes, Johnson faces battle to reassert authority after being snubbed by MPs. Thankfully, he was able to get his way. The approval of that plan, 291 to 78. But thanks to Labour's absenteeism from the vote, which helped the Prime Minister to avoid defeat. Yes, but if we look at the Times of UK, the Times newspaper, care home reopened to visitors. Test negative and see your loved ones for the first time since March, government tells relatives. Yes, family and friends will be allowed to visit care homes residents indoors from today and over the Christmas if they get a negative test result from rapid coronavirus test. Of course, there will be 1 million tests sent to care homes, and of course, they will also provide PPE such that loved ones will be able to hug their loved ones for the first time since March. Ruben, Rufai, and Tundu.
Well, quickly, you raised the point you were trying to praise the members of the National Assembly.
At least for once.
For showing concern about the carnage.
Yes.
In Borno State.
Borno State.
And, you know, I had commended them earlier that at least this time they're showing empathy. But it's not the same thing when it comes to state policy, lawmaking, or the treatment of executive bills. Is this not the same parliament where the Senate president told us right from the beginning that whatever the president brings will be endorsed? And when it comes to issues of state policy, we've not seen that kind of independent-mindedness from this ninth National Assembly. That's the point that I was referring to. But elsewhere, you see parliamentarians who will break ranks and say, this is where I stand. And we've seen that also in the United States, where we run a presidential system of government. Now, I had commented earlier.
But United States doesn't seem to be a good example, Ruben, because everything seems to be along party line.
No, but we have had instances when one or two persons...
You hardly see them crossing party line.
No, we have seen one or two instances.
Not a very good example, I will say.
No, we have seen one or two instances, even in recent times, where persons will say, look, I'm not voting along with the party. But let's leave that. Now, as to the issue of security and the president being summoned, I explained it earlier on, that it's a resolution. Resolutions are not binding because they cannot be strictly enforced. But the president should accede to the request. Given the seriousness of the situation in which we have found ourselves, it will provide him an opportunity to account, to give account, to render account before the people's representatives. It will also be an opportunity for the executive arm of government to get necessary feedback. And that feedback is already coming from the Senate end, where the senators are saying, look, these service chiefs must go.
For the obtained time?
Yes, if he still insists that he cannot change service chiefs at a time of a crisis during a national emergency, let him go there and say so. And then, of course, the matter will be debated. Vice President Osinbajo has been quoted as saying that the government is going to review the national security strategy. Well, we've had that before. We hope that this time around, it will not just be the same rhetoric. And there's already an indication in that regard. Governors of the northeast, of the northern states, they are supporting Governor Zulu, who had asked for the recruitment of mercenaries. Now, I mean, mercenaries have been used before in this country. During the Civil War, in Biafra, as it then was, mercenaries were involved. Some people refer to them as soldiers of fortune. And then, of course, as you know, during the Jonathan administration, when every option seemed difficult, towards the end of that administration, some mercenaries were involved in that battle. And we saw, progress being made. But I think when the Buhari administration came, those mercenaries were disengaged. Perhaps if they had remained on that assignment for an additional 6 months, we may have been able to make progress. Now, the issue of mercenaries has come back into the conversation. The only problem with mercenaries is that under the AU Convention, as it were, many African states frown against the idea of mercenaries, particularly as we have seen in secessionist cases, liberation movements, mercenaries being used. And, African leaders are very careful about that. But we see that private military contractors, as they are otherwise known, they are all over the world. It's a big industry, over $100 billion. And they were there in Iraq, they were there in Afghanistan. And now, under international conventions, the Geneva Convention and the additional protocols of 1977, now mercenaries are not necessarily very popular under international humanitarian law. They are considered private citizens getting involved in armed combat. They are not recognized as soldiers, as regular soldiers. Second, they cannot be classified as prisoners of war. So they have very limited rights, and that's why in some jurisdictions they are considered illegal. But if Nigeria is going to engage mercenaries, it's not something that the government can come out openly and be boasting about it. We're going to get mercenaries, because that would be a comment on the competence and capacity of your armed forces. But it's something that can be done quietly. So nobody should expect that the federal government of Nigeria will at any point come out and say, oh, we have taken that suggestion. We are going to engage mercenaries. If you do that, you will demoralize your own troops. But if you consider the idea useful, I think it's something that can be done underground, quietly, by the Nigerian government. What the Nigerian people want is results.
Yeah.
The decimation of Boko Haram, peace, security.
Yeah.
Many Nigerians don't even care. If you like, go and take mercenaries. Yeah. But it must all be within the context of international humanitarian law.
Yes, the added value of mercenaries even helping to get needed weapons through the back channel, because mercenaries don't fight with bare hands.
They will come with their own weapons.
They'll come with their own weapons.
So if for that alone, with all the complaints from Alhaji Lai Mohammed, I think this recommends itself.
And I just quickly want to make a quick point, Mr. Afeni, concerning that. And Dr. Abati, you're quite right about that. Even the Americans during the Iraq War used a mercenary company called Blackwater. That there was a big scandal that emanated as regards, attack of some citizens and things like that in Afghanistan, and it led to a big problem. But that company still exists. They've had to change their name to Zain or something now. So it's being used all around the world. But like you guys said, it's not something we could be proud of. Most importantly, I am even talking about the personal cost of loss of life and properties. Take, for instance, I was reading one of the commentaries this morning, among the many commentaries on this issue, and the reply of the head of the farmers to the federal government is something every Nigerian should read. It's quite very shocking. That should we have to fear for our lives when we are going about our livelihoods? And that's another very important thing we should look at critically. Hakim Baba Ahmed wrote an op-ed for Daily Trust this morning, and he was talking about how Abuja has even become too far to the citizenry. This is something that all of us should look at. People are dying. God knows the death toll of counted and not counted. And in all of this, we are not still talking about the allegations that people were kidnapped in this attack.
Yes, that people who are missing.
People are missing. We've not talked about that. We've forgotten that.
10 women.
Amnesty International drew attention.
Yeah, Amnesty International drew attention that 10 women are missing. So let's even start to talk about bring back our women now, because it looks as though we have forgotten those women missing, like they are not Nigerians in this whole conversation.
Anyway, thank you very much, Emmanuel Afeni. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.